Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean.
Hi everyone. Good evening and welcome to Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show. Well, you all know this is a magazine show where we focus on 5.8G tribe. That's a 50 to 80 group. So here we are. I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus. And as usual with me is my colleague.
Hello everyone. How are you? I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, the other co-creator. Welcome all. How are you going, Jennifer?
Well, happy, excited. You remember, well, those who have been following us a lot, remember when we spoke about me looking to do a rental income apartment and I have no money and all these stories? Well, Terry-Ann, it's happening.
Yeah.
So it has me very busy working with the contractor, my own designer. And, it is so beautiful to see, when your goals, you could achieve a goal that I never thought it was impossible, but it was a challenge. But I decided, look, I'm going for it. I am going to ensure that this goal is materialized because it will be impacting on my later years. We go 80s, 90s. So I feel very, very happy about it. I must say, it's very encouraging. Yeah. So that's my last week or last couple of weeks. I have been focusing on that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So how are you doing?
Girl. I will say that I am happy, notwithstanding the environment trying to stress me out.
It happens.
But Connections 50 Plus, I think our work I am proving that I am walking the talk and I have now crossed the hump because we're going to be focusing on that each word for the next couple of weeks. And when you look at life, you see things happening, and when you stand back, you say to yourself, so wait, really, you're conspiring to take away my joy? No. And it's amazing how once you know where you're headed, nothing really deters you, and you go along.
That's true. That's true.
You do what you have to do. So I am happy. I will put that as my descriptor. I am happy, and I am sincerely and genuinely so.
Yeah. So Terry, and that's why I thought really great, when we chatted early on, to talk about the cost of happiness. Because if you focus too much on the negative, you can't, then it wouldn't work. Yeah. And it would be, really nice this evening for us to chat about cost of happiness in different areas of life, Mm-hmm. And let me start by looking more at
But Jan, one of the things we need to tell people too is that this whole issue of the cost of happiness is such a fundamental to how we carry life forward. That is actually going to be the theme going into May. And on each of these buckets of cost, we will be having guests come in to talk in detail. And one of the things that I like is that cost is not a negative. When people say the cost of something, you think so it is really what you have to do to guard or to ensure that you get.
Yeah. When they think cost, they think sacrifice. They have to put out a lot. And it's not like that. Yeah.
No. Cost is just what's got to be, what you have to put out to get. and sometimes what you receive. So that is, and we've identified about 6 buckets.
Yes, yes.
So when we're doing our happiness budgeting or happiness spending,
Yeah.
we know exactly what it is. So yes.
So cause of happiness, Terry, and the first, as you say, bucket, this first area I want to look at is really the I like me time. I always talk about me time because I see putting aside that time for yourself, it is critical, because if you're not in a good mindset, you know, I talk a lot too about having positive energy. And if you don't have that mindset, then you can't approach anything in a positive manner. You will just go with being very negative. So that mental capacity, the mental awareness is very, very important. And I want to look at and I'm being very, I would say, based here, the things that get you annoyed, within your happy, that eats away at your soul or prevents you from being happy. You always look at, okay, for instance, look at your day-to-day chores. From the time you get up, some of us, we get up, and if it's raining, we annoyed because we say, oh, it's raining, I can't go anywhere. Instead of thinking that you still, whatever plans you have, you can still achieve it by looking for your umbrella. I mean, I'm being very simple here, but I'm just saying that we should not start our day with the negatives. We should be this is an awareness, and we should give ourselves that, and I don't want to say it as a challenge, but that goal to start your day in a positive way. So don't get up, and that's a way to, you know, it's always recommended. You don't go to bed with stress. You don't take your stress to bed. All the things that may be annoying you, all your troubles, you try to release those things before you go to bed. And you could release it in different ways, of course. We will talk later on about maybe spirituality and meditation, different ways you can do it. But be mindful before you go to bed. Free yourself of those, the hassles, those things that would be, those things that on your mind that you're annoyed about because you didn't achieve it for the day, somebody said something to you, and all that. So you look at what you want. I'm going to bed happy and I'm getting up happy. So you start in the night, think or write down. Some people write down. We talk about vision board. Do the things that will put you in that nice mood so you could sleep well without taking any tablets. You know, now 5.8G, some of us will take sleeping tablets or tablets to calm us down. You would not have to do that if you, in your mental state, you put yourself in that nice frame of mind. And you do the same thing in the morning. So in the morning, and I am guilty of that many times. When you have a lot of things to do, as you jump up, your brain start going, oh gosh, and you start studying what to do in first, what you're not doing. And that's why I said, like, if brain start to fall, you feel you can't go outside or you can't travel, etc. So when you get up, if you have a lot of chores to do, I recommend, Terry, and I do this. I write. I make a list of the things I have to do. And if it's just staying home and you have to clear your cupboard, clear your closet or wash, yeah. These are the things you're going to do. You look at it and then you put it in an order to suit your day. So it may not be the same order every day. You know, some people say, okay, you must cook at 11 or you must cook at 5 or you understand? Mm-hmm. You look at ways to change that to help you, whatever you plan, you look at the times that you would do it to help calm you. And those are the things I look at in terms of putting your mind at ease, less stress. So we say normally you look at your stressors, what causing you stress. Many times in our chats, we would mention that if it's people, you remove yourself from the people. Or yesterday, I was speaking with a client who being very upset by a friend of hers who, when every time they call, it's a complaint, it's a quarrel, and she was mentioning that she's not taking her calls again, etc. And I said to her, you know what? She likes a lot of this is her friend. So certain aspects of her friend, certain qualities, I should say, she loves. But they have this aspect that kind of outweighing with the negative part, the complaints. And we change our narrative. We change the way we speak to someone. So for instance, Terry-Ann, if you are, every time you call me, it's on a negative road, my response to you would not be negative. Right? So I prepare already knowing that, oh gosh, when Terry-Ann called me, I love Terry-Ann, but when she calls, she's so negative. When you call, I would say, hi, Terry-Ann, how are you going? You're sounding good. And even if you make a negative remark, you say something negative, I will respond in the positive. It helps me to keep me balanced, and it would also throw you off in a bit that you would recognize that, hey, yeah, I need to do that. So basically, I would start in terms of that mindset. Yeah. Me time, making yourself happy.
Definitely. And I think, Jennifer, if we go into the second bucket, which we think would really help us to maximize or minimize, depending on how you want to look at it, the cost of our happiness, is that aspect of spirituality. And I want to take a different take on spirituality, because very often when we say spirituality, we tend to go into the realm of the religious or the realm of prayer or that kind of thing. Now, that has to do with your spirit. But I think that very often we all are body and soul. Let's say that. And let's say that soul is that voice within us, that subconscious, our thought, our sense, our presence. Yes, is the Alpha, is the God, is the who is in us. We as human beings are such phenomenal creatures. We are supreme amongst everything that is living. So the thing that drives us, I mean, when our life is ended, this body goes. And if we look at this body is just, all right, it carries us. But really, who we are and what we are is our spirit.
Oh, yes.
And I think that a significant cost that takes away from our happiness is how we handle, recognize, and nurture our spirit. And I think that very often we don't, just as you were talking about, people would consciously, but I have to stay positive, I have to do this, meaning that I have to get away from negative. I think if we tend to the part of us that is our soul, our spirit, our personality, our predisposition, how we look at life and how we believe our energy impacts other people and the world around us, and critically how our energy, our spirit, that's coming out of us impacts ourselves, we would become much calmer and much happier people. I guess it's so easy to become bothered. It is so easy to react in a way that, and we were talking just now about talk shows. I mean, the media, social media, our environment. I think our environment is wired to agitate our spirit. I'm not saying get us vexed or whatever it is, but to have our spirits in an agitated form, meaning thinking about an idea that is controversial, thinking about a situation that is not what we will prefer. But you know, if we recognize that within this corpus is a spirit that defines me, Terry-Ann, is a spirit that defines you, Jennifer, is a spirit that defines, just call your name and say, within this body is a spirit. This voice carries a spirit. This face, this smile, this, my whole, what I radiate out into the environment is a spirit. And we know that spirit represents the God that we worship, the God figure that drives us. If we stop and connect with that spirit, and we let that awareness determine how we present to the world, not how we respond to the world. And this is my critical point with spirituality, how we present to the world, not how we respond to the world. Then I think we will have totally minimized the cost of our happiness, meaning that we don't have to find and sacrifice to figure out how to rebalance myself. Because if you start with your spirit, you determine my spirit is this, and I present that to the world, then how can I be disturbed? How can I have to adjust to becoming positive? Or I will just be. And you know, Jennifer, I will give some examples of that. And we look at things that could really disturb us. And I think in the last weekend, Jennifer, you say, I mean, enough has been presented to me to try and disturb my spirit. I mean, somebody bounced my new car. Somebody bounced the car and I'm without my car for a while. My new car. My mother had another fall. I don't know about she bounced a little, but, and you know, I realized that I always stand out and look at myself. I give myself out-of-body experiences. And I was saying, boy, Terry-Ann, you're supposed to be on a rant, you're supposed to be doing. And you know, I realized that I have a very calm spirit. And I just looked at all these things as par for the course. Pause, you can knock about as you want to. I had all kinds of other things to do. The telephone was working. I monitored what was going on with my mom. She was fine. And if I tell you the many things that happened to me in the last couple of days, I should be ruffled, tumbled, and upside down. And honest to goodness, I'm not. And it is not that I have to switch to be that. It is that I am that. So I think one of the very important aspects of making sure you're in control of your happiness and that it is not taken away from you easy is to recognize that you are spirit. You determine what your spirit is going to give to the world, present to the world, rather than have the world cause you to react. And in that way, I think you really give away what you take in whatever price the world says is your happiness. So for me, watching that spirituality is, what is your spirit? What are you giving out to the world? Really determines how you present. And I choose to be happy. So I think spirituality is important.
I totally agree with you, Terry-Ann, because again, going within and deciding how you want to be, that's important. So if you want to be happy, you go within, you understand yourself, you understand what you want to give to the world.
You don't have to react because you are. You don't have to react. You are.
You know, say you become what you want to be. That's it. So, you know, we look at that aspect of spirituality. You also look at, I want to look at your body, how your body function. Because, and again, we are talking about our cohort, the 5.8G, 50 plus.
Mhm.
And at this stage, we tend to focus, we are forced to, if you didn't do it before, to focus on your physical self, your health. You know, how are you treating yourself? How are you feeding your soul in a way? So I would say physical health is important. And we hear it all the time, to keep your body in shape, to keep your mind in shape, to keep your mind being active and being very, you go out there and you have that great mental capacity. You have to do something different. Maybe before you may have been eating a lot of sweets or, whatever, consuming certain, I don't want to say alcohol, consuming whatever you have been consuming that may now at this stage in your life, you have to be careful. So two aspects I want to just chat about would be the physical aspect. And the physical aspect is looking at what are you doing to keep yourself fit. And there's so many activities, and many of us do it already, but it's to be mindful that it forms, that's a way of life now. That's a way of life. That's how I look at it. So we have covered many of these areas in talks and in having our health expert come, and give chats. We look at what type of activity we should do to keep ourselves positive, to be happy. And for me, I love to walk. I love walks. That make me happy, especially if I have a friend with me. Man, from start to finish, I talking and I happy. I remember one day, Terry Ann, walking around the savannah with a friend. We walked almost every day for a long period. And a day, this guy who normally walks stop us and say, "You all be tired talking." He said, "Every time I see you, he said, you all talk all the way around and back." And I said, "But that makes us happy. We walking. It's not that we stopping and talking. We walking." So that made us happy. That makes me happy. It may not, that person was walking alone, and that may be his preference to walk alone because he do, but his mind, he probably thinks better like that. Not us, my friend. We like walking and talking. So look for the things you like to do to make you happy. And we chat about that. It could be gardening. It could be going and play football with the guys. It could be, any form of activity where you can move your body and it makes you happy. Look at the physical and try to do that on a regular basis, not just a one and done. Because we have, when you have, oh boy, I was going to use an example there and I would get thing on it. You have to keep yourself well. I was doing and use a machinery when you have to keep oiling and making sure that it works well as you go.
Body is a machine.
But I was thinking of his agent, and we have to keep ourselves, moving. Because
if you have an old car, you have to carry it to up regularly.
You see, Terry Ann said it, and I was going to say old car, but I don't want to be the first because
mileage.
You see, they would say comparing. You always say comparing. You don't old car. No.
You have mileage.
But yeah, we need to keep going because at this time is the time when, they say your bones may get brittle, your joints, so we have to ensure that we keep active there. And then in addition to that, we need to look at what we put in our bodies. Because I mean, someone may be able, and let me pong Terry Ann, not pong, but use her as the example. So Terry Ann could sit and she could drink a bottle of wine and she feels good and happy and it's not affecting her. She said 2. I was trying to be reasonable and say 1. Just as how she, and that makes her happy and is not affecting her system in any way.
Because I have it with good food.
Right. No, serious. And it's a point. It's a good point. I can, if I pass 2, That's enough. And that's why I have to look at my health challenges and how wine, suppose I've had a friend just like Terry, she happened to be in the medical field. And she said, Jennifer, the wine good for your heart, the red wine. And she always have proof of why it's good for your heart. But too much affect you. You understand? So be aware of the foods that you can eat to suit your body, not because someone else is doing that. You can do it too. You know, they can eat all the meat and everything and they're looking healthy and good. I said, I have some friends, may not exercise as regular I try to, and they're healthy. They don't be complaining about anything. Their system is different. So we need to be aware of our foods. I always recommend, Terry, and why I stick to a certain type of diet is because when I knew I still diagnosed in that way of being hypertensive and have some other health challenges, I sought professional help. I used Maria, our dietitian and our health expert, to guide me in terms of what are the foods I should eat, what I should not eat, even and that goes in for certain exercises, depending on your body and depending on what your ailment may be, that you may have certain exercises that you should avoid and certain exercises you should focus on. So I sought professional help for guidance, and I must say it has made a difference in how I manage my health. So my recommendation is, if we want to be active, continue to be active outside there, continue to do the things we love. We don't want our bodies to just shut down on us because we haven't been paying attention to that aspect of our lives. Yep. So for me, so this aspect of it's me time, you're taking time out to make yourself happy. And when you're healthy and you're going along, hey, that's happiness.
Yeah. Definitely. And I hope listeners that you realize that we're laying the groundwork for how we are going forward. Because as we said, we celebrated 3 years, so we have a foundation. And we said last week, we are not going to be celebrating every 3 years. We're looking at the next 5 years. We're looking at the next 10 years. And we have put our ability to really take on this 5.8G stage and create a beautiful stage in a packet called happiness. And when we look at it, we say, all right, what exactly is happiness? Because people think happiness is, oh, you're happy and you're smiling and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're doing the other. But we really do believe that happiness is an all-encompassing way of being. And if we don't pay attention to the different areas that can impact our happiness, we could end up with a very high cost to pay, which in the end really robs us of our happiness. So look forward to going with us on this journey. So Jennifer, we've gone through 3 buckets.
Yes.
We're halfway there. So that first bucket was, you talked about it.
Yeah, the physical, not the physical. We spoke about the mental and emotional. Yeah.
And the second one is, I spoke about it, your spirit. Understand that your spirit, what you present, not what you react to, what you present, you're in control of that, and therefore in control of your happiness. And Jen, you just summarized the third bucket.
Thank you, physical, yeah.
Okay, so now we're on to the second half, the last 3 of our cost elements that you have to look at. And we want to make sure this is a real happy time. And the fourth one we want to talk about is community. Because we've said this a lot throughout our program. We don't exist in a cocoon.
Yeah.
If we existed in a cocoon, we'd be hermits. Remember when we talked about carry yourself in the cave and roll the stone across the cave? And as one person said, when they find you in the future, it's dust and bones.
Yeah.
Well, you are social. We are all social, meaning we do not live in isolation. We have codependence on all kinds of people. No one gathers their own food, provide all their own clothes, provide their own, let's say, food, clothes, and shelter. You must interact with the world. And therefore, if your world, your community seems to be problematic, or there are issues in your environment that would take away from your happiness, then, excuse me, we can't go back in the cave and shelter. We therefore have a responsibility for this spirit to exist in a happy place, for your fit body and your healthy body to exist in a happy place. We've got to be concerned and interested in and involved in our communities, wherever those communities are. And we have to know that if we have certain skills, we have certain strengths, we have certain personalities, capabilities, and we have observation skills, that we can look and see where we can do a part in making sure that our communities match the vibe, that happy, wholesome, healthy vibe that we wish to exist in. And this is where being a citizen of your street, a citizen of your village, a citizen of your town, a citizen of your community. I ain't going around to the nation. I'm going there in a limited way. And what is citizenship but being conscious of your community? We look at it in different ways. Some people will choose to volunteer in social groups, in their religious groups, with different things. Some persons, so you may go into a group to help that group meet some bigger cause. You may also, on a very individual and personal level, look out at your community and recognize an individual, a family that can have your help. You prepare a meal and you help them. You see a young person who probably needs help with school. You see somebody, a young adult who needs advice on the getting into the world of work, the first job. Oh gosh, 5.8G, we have the experience. We can see them going wrong from before they start to go wrong, you know. And sometimes we sit back and we say, oh God, look at them. As opposed to being proactive and participating, we sometimes forget how much a community raised us, how much a community supported us. We are now the elders. We had one show where we said, we are the elders. And what do the elders do? But sit on the throne and be the advisors, be the people who act as guides, act as the reference point. And I truly believe that how we present our community, whatever you call it giving back, call it volunteerism, call it whatever it is, call it seeing the individual and working with that individual. But we must impact our communities, if only for the very selfish reason that we had to live in the community.
Just about to say that.
Very selfish reason.
You're creating the environment we want to live in.
And as we talk about community and environment, I want to make the point that in the community consciousness that adds to our happiness, it is not only an interaction with human beings, it is also interaction with that environment. So we talk about a green environment, we talk about how we use materials, we talk about how we keep our space, we're talking about pollution, we're talking about littering, we're talking about how we organize our space in our community. You know, you're black trying to be nice and you have wild bush growing all over the place. You wouldn't even tidy up. You didn't put the cover on your rubbish pan. You put in all the rubbish on the wrong day.
Yeah.
All of those things help to cause the community to be happier, to present to your community. So a very, very important part of the cost of happiness, making sure you keep your cost of happiness down, will be achieved if you are conscious about your community, about your community's needs, and you make an assessment of your skills, what you can do, what can you contribute, and you identify. That means you have to open your eyes and you have to look, and you have to engage your mind consciously, and you have to think about others, not only yourself. And you have to say, how can I help? How can I contribute? How can I use my time, talent, and treasure? Time, talent, and treasure to make this community one that will be better. And not only the people in the community, the families in the community, but the environment. The environment. How does it look? Your use of water, you polluting the air, the garbage. You have something to get rid of in your house, you go and throw it in a river. That is not being community conscious. That's like you're walking straight past a family with young children who don't have enough to eat, and you just throw away a whole macaroni pie because you're fed up eat it, and it lasted too long. So community consciousness, giving back, is not only a thing you do in the church group, but it is part of your entire being. And we cannot be happy by ourselves because we do not live in a cocoon. We don't live within a box and we walk around the box around us and not impacted by our communities. So we can work on ourselves, but if we do not pay attention to our community and assess how we can make that community a whole lot better, our happiness will always be compromised. So use your eyes, observe, and the fourth bucket will be make sure your community is striving to be as happy as you are.
Yes, Darian. Now you talk about the cost of happiness. We talk about the cost of happiness. And I want to bring up the fifth area, which is financial. And let me tell you about the financial. Everybody feel if you don't have money, you cannot be happy. You look at others and say, oh, they're happy, they're okay, they have money, they work in, they can afford. And I can't afford, I'm unfortunately, I don't have this, I don't have that. So I can't be as happy. You see that myth? Let's really examine that. Why can't you be happy without the money that you really want? It's really what you want, huh? All right. So if you look at your financial situation without, and I have the experience as a financial coach, that anytime people talk about money, finances, your situation, it just sends up a block in front of you, a wall that you feel you cannot break through. And for you, and again, I just want to keep referring to the stage we are at, which is a very critical stage about us being able to do the things we want after we worked so hard. Many of us thought we would have had, sufficient funds to do the things we had, but medical costs, cost of living, many situations crop up that eroded the money that we had saved, or prevented us from saving the way we wanted to save. So what I would like for everyone who listening and who has that thinking that they don't have money so they can't be as happy, or watching other people who have money and who appears to be happy. And if you're judging happiness by the material things, you're judging happiness because it's only Terry, and I could tease here, you're judging happiness because Terry and driving a beautiful new car and you watch that and you say,
Somebody bounce.
but you see a one before they get the bounce, you're just looking and saying, oh, look at her in that car, she happy. You understand? And we do those things. Or you passing by somebody, the house and the garden, the whole the exterior, everything looking great, and you say, that family happy. We judging by the material things, and that what we feel will make us happy if we have it. And many times it has been proven that that's not a fact. So for you to be happy, the cost of happiness is not really the dollars and cents. The cost of happiness, as and Terry Ann mentioned it, we spoke about it, spirituality, what you want, how you're thinking. Okay, so now on the financial part of it, to make yourself happy or happier, especially those who have been, disappointed or depressed or angry and all the other negatives as a result of not having the money that they want to have. Again, I am one, and those who know me will know I always talk about either writing down or doing a vision board. So you will have that clarity as to when you break down things, the money comes after. And let me explain that. If you, and I'm not talking about budgeting because budgeting is a bad word. All right. I am simply saying that if at this stage in your life, you write down what the things will make you happy, then you look at what would cost you, what each area would cost you if you're looking at the dollars and cents. When you do that, you're not doing that starting with fear and say, why am I writing this down? I don't have money anyway. I can attest to this, and we have been sharing our stories that when you have that noted, and for instance, I talk a lot about what I'm doing right now, which is the apartment. And I shared how I started with almost zero, but that positive mindset, listen, the money or the achievement of the goal may not come in the forms of dollars and cents. So for instance, you may have, and I using an example here of a friend who her daughter needed a car to help with run around in terms of the type of job, etc. And her complaint was, of course, she don't have no money to help the daughter don't have no money, etc. And a friend happened to have changed a car and was thinking of selling the other car and thought, you know why? And what the price that was being offered for the older car that she was selling, she didn't find it worth it, and she offered the car to the daughter. Terry Ann, that is like, and that is because when you think positive, and as you say, you inform community, and community meaning you treat people well and you help in ways that you can, the reward is coming different ways. The reward is coming different ways. So when we talk financial, I totally believe that when you write out the things that you want to achieve, or use a vision board, or whatever method you want to have it noted, you can do, you could write in a diary, you could create, all different forms that you can note the things that you want to make you happy at this stage in your life. I am telling you, if you remove that block of not having money, and I don't just not having money, the money you want to have. Some people say, at this stage, I should be a millionaire. These kind of talks, and this is important, the negatives you're putting in your mind. So you say, oh, after working all those years, I have nothing right now. Or I should have 500,000, I should be able to buy a car cash. And these things, and when you say these negative things, not believing it can happen, it would not happen. Right? So the guide here is to note it, put photos of it. Sometimes we have to change. It may not be the brand new car. It may not be the type of house you want to take, but decision making at this stage makes a difference. Just quickly, just one example in terms of not allowing that money to be a negative in your life is that we can downsize in a lot of ways. We have things that I'm downsizing right now. Many things I have that I say, why am I keeping it again? I have decided some to give away. Some before I dispose of it freely, I would see if I can get sale for it, you know, so some money coming in that I could put towards something else. So don't approach the financial aspect of your life in a negative way to affect your happiness. Approach it where you see in your vision of yourself, of your goals, of you being happy, put that in front, and then you would achieve it in different ways. As I said, it may not be cash in hand, it may be from a gift, it may be you repurposing something, you know, it have different ways we can do it. And as Terian mentioned, on each of these areas, we would have a guest coming in, which will give you more details and guidelines and cover the areas that we will cover, right? We just, you know, kind of touching the surface right now to make sure that you're happy at this time.
Jen,
Yeah.
I want to add one more point, if you could, because very often people look at the financial side from a lack perspective, and that I don't have enough money and I want more money. But I think the happiness issue is equally important where resources are plentiful and abundant and more than you could have. And very often, if we most of us need things, and we feel that those who have it down pat, but those who have a lot of resources can be equally confused, because I think for many of them, a lot of their happiness is drained because of worries that come from that abundance. No, and it's true. And we may look at it and feel that because a lot of people who have a lot of resources may be judged. You're rich, you could do this, you do that. Or they're questioned how you get that money and what did you do? And you could do this, you don't have no limitations, you don't have any worries. But for those who have abundance, many of them, I think, also lose time and effort in terms of happiness by just worrying about what does that abundance, what negatives does that abundance attract to them? What kind of negative attention comes to them? And very often, people who I know who are very affluent, they are almost back in that tomb, in that cave, with the stone rolled in front of them, because they are so suspicious, so fearful of other people's motives for coming to them, being attracted to them. Again, we come back to the issue of the spirit. So when we talk financial, it is not only from lack, but you have problems from those who have abundance. And again, you know, it is, and it's easy for us to say that's rich people problems, you know, but the common word is problems, and problems take away from our happiness. So I think we need to pay a little nod to the ones on the other side who have it hard, who are being targeted, especially in the current environment. And they've worked for what they have, they've worked hard, they've worked long, they want it as their legacy, but society threatens them. And I think they too have to really step back and say, okay, how am I going to use my resources, not only to have a beautiful life that I want to have and I deserve, but to make sure that I don't end up in total stress. Don't you think?
Yeah, but many of those I know do get involved a lot in the community aspect in terms of giving back.
Yeah. But they have the stress. The point I'm making is that
I agree with the stress, but looking at how they can be happy on the other side of the coin, and they can also be happy if they're under stress. How do they turn their stress? How do they distress as a result? I agree with you. There is the fear that if someone know you have money, they want to either take advantage of you in different ways,
target you,
or not get too close to you in terms of friend, and not even be charitable or help you in any way because they feel you have. And I'm not looking at the helping you financially, of course, helping you emotionally, a support in a different way. Even you looking at those who may be connected, whether as an employee or in some other way, to someone who has that money, they tend to treat them with such disdain in a way that, oh, you have, so you can't tell me what to do, things like that. So
without consideration as to how did I get it? How did I
understand that? So it's on both parts for us to understand that also, because the aim is not for those who don't have to be happy, and those who have because they should be unhappy. So it is all of us. It's a whole, it's a community, it's a tribe, and within the tribe you have people in different circumstances. So I totally agree with you, the awareness, and for those who actually in that situation, to look for ways of how maybe they maybe present themselves differently, or look for the signals that they could address when that time comes. And yes, many of them give to charity, but you don't want it to be known. You don't want to make it. It's not about going on the newspapers or making it public. But they do a lot. They give back a lot. It's maybe just looking at what aspect of that makes you unhappy, and see how you can address it where your mind, you know, you would be in a better, you'll be in a happy mood.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you pointing out that other side, which we tend to overlook, assuming that money making them happy.
Yeah. And I think quite frankly, I think if I am rich and I can afford the things that I like, I refuse to let someone's judgment of my ability to have the life that I want cause me to retreat and not enjoy that life.
I totally agree.
And not have that fun, because the society puts pressure on you. The society really does put you, oh, you this and you that. And when you want to go out, you can't wear your jewelry, you can't wear this. And if you go to an exotic holiday, oh, who she feels she is, what he feel he doing.
Yes, you have to learn to ignore those,
your life and your riches, and don't let other people impact on your ability to be happy with what you worked for. Once it is legally obtained, let me put the caveats in. So we've sorted out all kinds of buckets. We made sure we were mentally there. We're physically healthy. We checked our spirituality. We looked at our community, and we looked at our money. And again, coming back to the last thing that we're choosing, that social, recreational. And you know, I want to differentiate this from the community, because community is you look to make your community better to come back in. Social and recreational, after we've checked off all of those buckets, give yourself a break and have a good time in life. Have fun. Have friends. Go out, enjoy yourself. Do the things that give you joy. If you know you love something, you love recipes, you love gardening, you like hiking, you like outdoor, you like to collect square boxes, you love to climb trees, you like to sweep the house, you like to keep a tidy house. Do not deny the thing that allows you to be happy. Go out and share it. Interact with others. If the things that you like are things that you do alone, for example, people love to read, or they like to watch movies, they like to do it alone. Have dates with yourself. Take yourself out. Go out and have fun. This whole issue of social and having a recreational life, having that time to have a good time, enjoy life with people we choose to. This is not your community. This is not the people who happen to be in your environment. This is your choice. I like you. I want to share this with you. I have a group of friends that I trust, that I can laugh with, that share my values, that share my ideas. Go out and enjoy things with your group of friends. Because yes, you can be happy, but happiness is something that is not selfish. It is not something that you have it and then you bottle it up inside and you zip it up, you close your eyes, you close your ears. It really does expand and multiply when it's shared with people that you love, whether it's your family, it's your close friends, it's your neighbors, it's your work group. It is so very important that we share time and space with other people, laughing, smiling, hugging, and just bringing joy. So this last aspect, I think, is really the cherry on top of the happiness cake, because we have to be able to interact. And just like we're doing here, I mean, Jen, we love Zoom. Yes. You can still talk, you can still interact. COVID has taught us that isolation is not contributing to happiness. It doesn't. But we will find ways to interact, to share ideas, because I think when we have that conversation, we see a smiling face, we see smiling eyes. What's the hormone? There's a happiness hormone that just wells up in us that just makes it all so much better, no matter where we are in life. So,
Terry-Ann, Connections, of course, 50 plus is helping them in terms of get out there, socialize, participate, and be happy. Because we have a lineup of activities and socials for our group.
And we'll talk about those in the next segment.
Yes.
So we've got now 6 buckets of happiness. Look forward to hearing more of them through the month. And let's go on the other side now and talk about this tribe. So Jennifer, last week we said we laid out our plans. We laid out the 5 or 6 activities, and all your real hurry, you know.
Well, this is it. I have been, you know, answering WhatsApp, and I must say, I mean, thank you very much for the great response. Because even in responding, some of you all made suggestions that we really appreciate and would include in our plans. So, you know, that's great. The response has been very, very good. And we look forward for you to continue, you know, letting us know what you want, giving us feedback. And because of that great response, that we have actually finalized our June activity, which you all have been.
Well, we said what we will do.
Wow. So yeah, we did say this week we will tell you. So Terry-Ann will tell you all about the activity, all about what is coming up.
And I remember I said shout out to Helen, who last week on Facebook said, we're hungry to go out. All right, so Helen is starting to feed you. Okay, so our first activity, mark your dates. June 23rd, Thursday, June 23rd. And we having our boat ride. 5.8G boat ride and sunset cruise on the Caroni Swamp. Now, listen, we are working together with Nana and Tours, and just to give you a sense of the kind of depth and history that we're dealing with. We're dealing with Lester Nana and the person who started the nature tours preserving the Caroni Swamp. And many of us may have last gone to the Caroni Swamp as a child.
Yes.
The little school outing. And we talked about happiness and environment. We talked about happiness and feeding yourself, physically feeding yourself. And we are going to create, with the help of Nanan's tours, a beautiful, beautiful dinner cruise. Listen, a 3-course dinner with dessert, beverages, non-alcoholic, to accompany the dinner. The dinner is catered by one of the top restaurants in Trinidad. Snacks and the best of guides, to take us all the way through the swamp, looking at nature, looking at the environments, the wetlands, the mangroves, the birds, the flora, the fauna, learning, and how best to do that round the table with friends, even friends that we meet on that tour. So Thursday, the 23rd of June, the cost of all of this is $370, all inclusive. You just get, now, the tour leaves promptly at 3:30. So to make sure that we have all our ducks lined up and we do what we have to do, we get to introduce ourselves to each other and make new friends. We want to be there at 3. So connections, be at the Carney Bird Sanctuary at 3, and we will be finished. It's a 3-hour tour, probably just 3.5 to 3 hours. So by 6:30 we will be done. And for those of you who've not been to the sanctuary, Nan's stores will be the first. There will be a sign there. There's a clearly identified and secured car park where car parking attendants will show you where to park. It will be right on your left as you're driving in. You take the Carney Bird Sanctuary exit on the highway. Carney Bird Sanctuary exit on the Solomon Hojoy Highway. Okay, it will be a delightful evening of nature watching, bird watching, animal watching, looking at how the lungs of our country, of our environment, because this Carney Swamp is where we filter a lot of our air, the water, the fishes of the sea. So we are going to have a great time, all the while having fantastic dinner and meeting friends and having a good time. So,
Jennifer, of course, you have to book early, because you remember what happened with the pyramid. We booked up at the next day. So we have.
This is a boat. There's a limited capacity.
Limited, you know that. So you just have to click the link, call us, make sure you register very early. The link is below, and you feel free as usual for those wishing to call, make your bookings, and that's it. And we see you on the 23rd. We're going to talk more about it, of course, as we go along in each of our programs, and share any other details that we may have. Yeah.
Great. So watch your cost of happiness. Don't let it fall away from you, and stay tuned. Yeah. See you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
50 Plus Tribe, and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.